You're listening to the Reinvest Podcast, where each Tuesday we will show you how to reclaim, reconnect, and refocus your life by bringing you the top real estate professionals in the industry. We'll pull back the curtain so you can implement these tools and tactics to build generational wealth. Your hosts, Garrett Gatton and Seth Ciminillo. Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning into another episode of the Reinvest Podcast, episode number 74. Got some exciting stuff to jump into today. On a personal note, I'm having a baby.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
If we weren't inside, maybe I'd light up a cigar for you or something.
So we're going to be gearing up for that. I'll probably go dark here in probably 4 weeks. My wife texted me today and said we're a month away from our due date. So that'll be number 6. So when we talk about investing, we don't just mean real estate. We mean family. There's lots of things that you can invest in that are worthwhile. So
and in some case, you're really investing in your family if you're like Garrett. So
yeah, and let me just, quick plug for being a dad. Being a dad of 6 kids, the tax benefits are sick.
Yeah, if you were going to have kids, I would say just do it for the tax benefits.
Oh, yeah, they're insane.
There's no way they're going to cost you more than that.
No. I cap each one of our kids to an $1,800 expense per year. And so I think I'm netting about $700. But anyway, no. That's a joke, by the way. So we're going to jump in today. Got an awesome guest with us, Justin. I'm going to go for it. Wawrzyniak. Did I get it? Let's go. Let's go. Justin, thanks for joining us, man.
Excited to be here, man. Thanks.
Tell us a little bit about your company. Where are you at right now? How'd you get your start in real estate?
Yeah. So thanks for having me on, guys. Once again, appreciate it. Congratulations on the baby.
Thank you.
One of our partners actually just had his second kid and didn't tell us the whole time. And he just
crazy.
Randomly was like,
What?
"Hey, I'm heading to the hospital. Wife's, in labor." We're like,
No
"What are you
way.
talking about, man?" So,
you guys must be really close.
yeah, I thought we were, apparently not. But yeah, so quick about me. I'm 29 years old right now, and I think you can kind of say my journey to real estate started when I was 18. And it has nothing to do with real estate, but it was the most impactful lesson. And actually at the age of 18, I kind of was that rebellious kid where I was always, I was hanging out with the wrong crowd, whatever. It is what it is. But I ended up getting arrested for the second time, strike number 2.
Yeah, that's no
at
good.
18 years old. I not only
You're
was
not
I
a minor.
disappointed-
I mean, you're technically in the eyes of the law, you're an adult at that point.
Exactly. It was bad.
Wow.
Let's just say it was bad. I'm glossing over it, years later. But what it taught me was in that isolated moment, I'm like, man, how do I keep getting in trouble? What am I doing wrong here? And I was like, okay, well, who am I hanging out with? Well, it's a bunch of degenerates. Okay, well, I guess I'm going to be a degenerate as well. And so it's I didn't know any better because that was my environment. And that was when I really learned the impactful kind of you're the sum of your 5 closest friends, or your network is your net worth, right? I mean, that was it. And I'm like, all right, we're doing something different. So I did what my parents have, middle-class America has taught us to do, which was go get a safe, secure degree and then parlay that into a nice, safe, secure job. And then you eventually work, I don't know, 40, now maybe 50 years, and you get to retire. Yay,
American dream in a nutshell.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so I did that. I did engineering. I did really well. I actually graduated top of my class because, the arrest kind of scared me straight in a sense. Got into the real world, was like, I don't think I did this correctly, because I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah.
I started surrounding myself with some more investor business folks rather than just engineers.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, I got a decision to make. I'm 25 years old. I have, at the time, I have a long-term girlfriend, but no wife, and not 6 kids. I don't have 6 kids, right?
Yeah.
I don't have
Missing out on the tax benefits. Just
exactly.
saying.
I don't know what I was thinking. But I didn't have the risk, if you want to call it, of needing that job for survival, to feed my family, right? Type of situation. So I'm like, all right, I actually have an opportunity to make the switch into real estate full time at this point. So at 25 years old, middle of COVID, that's what I did. I was like, all right, I'm gone. I'm going to figure it out. I had saved up a nest egg from doing a house hack. shameless plug
Let's
for house hacks.
go.
I
Yeah, there
love
you
those
go.
as the first investment.
Tell it
Um,
real quick. Just was it a duplex? Where was it?
so I had to get creative. So I was looking for 2 to 4 units for the longest time because that's what that's what you're taught. It's like the best house hack strategy. But I eventually landed on a single family home in a nice neighborhood that had a separate entrance to a finished basement.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what I did was I essentially converted that basement, like built the kitchen, renovated the bathroom, bedrooms, and stuff like that. And as an engineer, it's supposed to be this high performing, cool engineer. I checked my pride at the door and I lived in the basement that I was
Nice.
Wow.
renovating at the time of living there and working 60 hours a week and made so much freaking money on that deal, living for
Wow.
free, renting out the upstairs for more than the mortgage and expenses. That was kind of like the real estate aha was
Was
like,
this in
okay,
Florida or was this somewhere else?
we can do it. This was in the Midwest. So my
Midwest.
job took
Okay.
me from Orlando to right out of college to Indianapolis, Indiana.
Okay. Wow.
And that's where I got my start.
Wow.
So started doing that. And then that was kind of like the first year I actually had a real estate license and brokered deals. But my goal was to learn more about real estate but also collect like some money, right? So I worked with just investors, helping them find deals or sell their deals. And that was when I'm like, all right, I'm done helping them. I want to be an investor. So at 26 was when I was like, I'm committed. I'm going to start buying it myself. And that's where it started. Bought our first one in summer of 2021, was a 10-unit apartment building.
Wow.
And since then I've done, 7 other generational wealth buy and hold deals.
Why don't you tell us about that first deal? Tell us about that 10 unit. How'd you find that deal and what gave you the confidence as a 26-year-old with only one other house maybe under your belt to buy that?
That's a wet bite.
I mean, there's a lot of money wrapped up in 10 units.
Yeah. So first of all, it was in a, let's just go into it. So it was 10 years, it's $350,000. I don't know, like the nice way to put this, that we got it for a very good price, given that it's in the Midwest market versus like if you were to pick that thing up and drop it in Florida or California, it would have been 3.5 million or something crazy like that, right? So that helped, right? You have less chance of losing a ton of money because it's less expensive. But the important thing was I was surrounded by other real estate investors that gave me the confidence I needed. I look at this deal now, man, this thing prints money for us. This was a home run. When I was looking at it, I had no freaking idea that it was good. Like I was still on the fence if we were going to buy it or not. And I'm like, I don't know, like this, that. And then what I needed was just somebody in my group that was like, yeah, it's a good deal. Buy it. Like do it. Right. And then I did it. We did it. It was like me, 2 other partners, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. And it's been fantastic. We've doubled the rents. It's built in 1995 too. So it's it's a younger asset. And we've really,
how'd you find the deal?
What was that?
How'd you find the deal?
Off market.
Okay.
Off market. Yeah. Actually, I tried to find the text message that we sent because this was like the beginning stages of our off-market direct-to-seller journey. And we've gone so far from there. Now we have a full system and process and everything. But this was just like, all right, we have this property we want. Let's just send him a quick like, hey, Ed, would you be interested in selling? Send text message. And he was like, yep, 350,000. And we're like,
no way.
Okay.
Okay.
We're
So
like, okay.
let's do a disclaimer here. Do not expect to get someone to bite on a text like that because but the volume, you do enough of that and you will get those text messages. But that's what a confidence booster too. You're like, holy crap, we're doing it. What do we do now? He said he wants to sell. Well, we should buy it. We should do it.
Exactly. Yeah, no, trust me, I've been doing a ton of direct to seller. This was by far the
unicorn.
Like, doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But we got fortunate. We took it down. But the important thing was that we did something. Like yes, it's always going to be whatever you're doing, it's going to be clunky when you start.
Yeah.
But then it's going to get like you'll refine the process and you'll get better at it. And that's kind of what we did. And that's why we've been able to scale so quickly as well.
Let's jump into that. So Kind of gave us the origin story, how you got into it. Awesome story about the house hack. A little comment on that. I love that you lived in the basement and you rented out the premium space, okay? Because you could have done it the other way around and you probably would have made less money but been more comfortable. But that wasn't your goal, right? Your goal was something different. And so that was really cool. So, I think this topic of direct to seller, off-market deal finding, everybody, there's a lot of people that have something to say on the topic. And it's a hot topic because we're in a tight market right now where inventory is tight and the stuff that is listed is overpriced. Just the discrepancy, that delta between seller expectation and buyer purchasing power is still very wide. And so what do people do? They pivot and say, well, I'm going to go off market, find, somebody who maybe isn't in tune with the market as much. Maybe it's more of a mom and pop type owner, or it's a distress scenario. There's a lot of reasons somebody could go off market. So how did you, I guess, what was the enticement for you? Why didn't you just work through stuff that was listed, and what drove you to go off market? And then what were some of the motivating factors you hoped that you were going to find for sellers?
So my off-market career almost started out of necessity. So think about my story, right? I'm 25 years old with no real estate experience besides a house hack. What it is. And now I'm going to try to approach a broker and be like, hey, I'm a credible buyer. You need to send me your good stuff before you send it to everyone else. It wasn't going to work. Right. So out of necessity, almost, I was like, all right, I need to go get in front of them and try to sell myself to these owners, a mom and pop, or other guys, of sell to me. Right. I'm going to do you right. We'll get you a price that you're looking for, and it needs to work out. And that's kind of how we started. So we reached out. We started actually with expired listings on the MLS.
Yeah.
Because for me, I was like, all right, well, there's some motivation there. Right. They wanted to sell at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And because I had my realtor's license, I would actually just click through the ones that had like the iPhone pictures and like a finger blocking the photos. And I'm like, well, I think I know why I didn't sell on the market, was because this was marketed horribly. And that's who I would try to reach out to.
Isn't that crazy that sellers let agents like that represent them? That's to me, it blows my mind. I mean, we even see $200,000 and $300,000 houses in our market that get listed, and it's like crooked iPhone.
But you're right, though. You're right. That is the seller doesn't know that was a limiting factor in why it didn't sell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's intuitive.
Exactly. Yeah, and you can reach out to the owner, but sometimes if you want to preserve relationships in the marketplace, is reach out to that listing broker and say, hey, we're not going to give you the full commission, but we'll throw you some bones here for connecting me with this owner, because I might have a buyer, or I might be the buyer interested now in purchasing that property if you'll connect me, right? So that's how it got started. And then it started developing into multifamily, right? I wanted to start buying multifamily assets because I heard enough on podcasts that they'd skip single families, and eventually they ended up in multifamily. What's this space? I want to learn more about it. So that's what I did. And I started marketing to those owners directly.
So it was born out of necessity. Out of necessity. You were maybe didn't feel sophisticated to be able to, prove that credibility to a broker, but said, you know what, I can have a conversation with somebody. I know how hard I'm going to work. I know how honest I'm going to be. If I can get just straight in front of the buyer or the seller directly, I know I have a better shot. So that's interesting.
Oh yeah.
So what did you find out as you were going through this process that was like a light bulb to say, hey, we could scale this?
The scalability comes with kind of the back end process. So you can leverage technology to help yourself out a ton in this situation, right? So let me just take a step back. Direct to seller. Like, what am I talking about when I say direct to seller? It's more than just directly to owners. Like, you can do it's just kind of a component of finding off market deals, because that's where we get properties at discounts, is if we're not having to compete, right? If you're not competing against others, you have a chance of your offer getting accepted at a lower amount, right? That's just kind of the nature of the beast.
Mm-hmm.
So direct to seller is one component. There's also like direct to broker, which I like to kind of put in the same wheelhouse. It's all relationship based. So you can leverage technology to build better relationships with more people, right? So on the direct to seller side, right, I'm trying to reach out to owners. What I'm going to do is I have a list of properties. It's like a car, right? I have my fuel for my car is my list of properties. And then my car itself is whatever marketing that I'm doing, whatever system I'm using for calling people or texting people or mailers, right? You've heard email marketing, whatever it may be. It doesn't matter. Pick one, stick to it. They all work, right? And then the car, and then the driver itself is you. How can you build relationships with people? And I think that's how we scaled was we focused on, all right, we have a good technology built. Now I need to start treating people like people, and they're going to sell it to me versus sell it to you guys. Well, obviously they'll sell it to you guys. You guys are great people, but like other folks in my market, that's who I'm competing against because we all can get the same data. We can all access the same list of properties. It's, we're all paying for it. There's nothing special that I do by accessing a list of properties. But what I do special is I build relationships with people that they go, I like Justin. I want to sell to Justin. And that's how we've been able to scale faster.
How do you get over, I feel like one of the things that hold people back from really going direct to seller is it feels uncomfortable. They don't know maybe how to have that conversation, or they feel weird being like, well, I don't really want them to think that I want something from them, but wait a minute, I do want something from them. Talk about the mindset.
Want your property.
Yeah. Right.
Exactly. Because ultimately you want to buy their property, right? I mean, that's the goal. You do want something from them. What I noticed is I started off, I was doing all the calling and texting myself. And then eventually I've grown my business to, I have a full-time acquisition specialist that's doing that. And then based off of our markets, then I have also lead managers for those markets as well that handle hot leads, right? People interested in seeing an offer or selling or whatever it may be. But at first, right, when I'm doing it myself, I realized that I didn't love it, but I'd have to block out some time on the calendar and you have to do it. Like you got to grind through it. But what was important is having like a script, right? That you can kind of like follow a rough script. But at the end of the day, if you're calling them out of the blue, and if you can relate to the fact that they're in their busy schedule and you do want something from them and you try to like focus on trying to get some relationship building stuff at first, it makes it so much better, right? So many times we'll call, and if you're immediately asking them about their property, how many units is it, what's the unit mix and all that, there's like click, like I don't want to talk to you. But if you're like, hey, what do you have any time? Oh, you don't? You're going to your kid's basketball practice? Oh, cool. What position does he play? Right? Oh, you guys have a tournament this weekend. Would it be better if I just called you on Monday after your tournament? Like, is that taking up too much time? And if you can meet them on like a relationship level as a friend, almost, I think that's why we had a lot more success. And it's going to be more enjoyable for you because you're like getting to know someone versus hitting them with like a checklist of questions.
Right. What was your, let's say you had that initial phone call with an owner of a property and they were like, yeah, call me Monday. So you follow up Monday because you already kind of had that expectation in place. And they say, well, we're not ready to sell right now, but maybe later, maybe in the future. How frequently would you follow up with them?
All right. I'm going to give up. You guys let's just give it all, right? These are, so just so you guys know, I am more than happy to talk about direct to seller all the time, right? So I did this for last 2.5 years, 7 generational wealth properties. We wholesaled 3 of them for like massive profits.
What do you mean by that? 7 generational wealth?
So buy and hold, ones that I don't plan on selling unless we're doing like a monopoly play, right? I'm going to sell like 2 of them and go buy a much larger property, right? Those are going to have an early refinance in there so I can get back a big chunk of money and then go buy another one with it and just hold on. Right. So I've had a ton of success, which is great for me, but I think I understood the technology side to do this business well because of my engineering background. However, I'm not here to keep all the information to myself. Like I want more people doing this. And so we actually created nostressdts.com. And if anybody's interested in finding out more, go check out the website, right? It's my goal to try to help more people do it. And part of that is like helping people to find deals themselves that might not have the technology side. And so I just got so excited about it. I forgot the question here, but if check that out. Yeah. But then if you can just re-ask the question for me.
Yeah, he had asked so the guy tells you to call him back Monday. You call him back Monday. He's like, I'm not ready to sell yet. He had asked, where do you go from there? How often, how much do you follow up?
Perfect. Thanks for getting me back on track, Seth. So what happens is we have lead statuses, and if somebody doesn't specifically tell us to F off or never call me again, we're going to follow up with you every 3 months.
Anything short of that, you're getting a phone call again.
We are going to follow up with you every 3 months. And this is why. If you tell me you're not selling today, you could have a financial or a health issue in the next 3 months that now you need to sell your property, right?
Yeah.
And so also 3 months is kind of long enough where if you do a good job at relationship building and keeping notes when you talk to them, that when you call them back, they remember you. Because it's an issue, right? If you think about it, if you follow up with someone 100 times, but every single time they forget who you are, you restarted that relationship. That's wasted money, wasted time, right? So that's what we try to do. If they don't want to sell, 3 months. If they're, hey, we're not ready to sell yet, but we've considered it, 1 month. If they're like, yeah, we'd see an offer. We might not be interested in selling, but we'd see an offer. We're getting that to a lead manager, 24-hour follow-up. They need to be building a deep relationship with that person because even if they're not going to sell right now, we need to have an offer in front of them showing that we're a legitimate buyer, that we quickly within, 24-hour follow-up, and then, within 48, 3 or 4 days, like you should have an offer in front of them with like some rough numbers.
Yeah.
So as we kind of maybe wrap up or summarize some of the strategy, what are some of the technology applications that you guys have kind of implemented in your no stress DTS kind of program?
Like, what does that do for someone if someone were to want that program, or if someone was trying to figure out how to even start organizing this information? Give us kind of the basics of what does it take to start to build a direct to seller business.
Yeah. I mean, whether it's we help you out or you go find some other product, what you need to be looking for is a CRM, which I think it's customer relations manager or something. It's a sales platform that is used by all sales companies to keep track of their leads. And what's important there is two things. It can help you set follow-up dates. So you're not remembering to call people. Like if I needed to call you guys 3 months from now, if I had to think, just if that was in my head, I'd forget about it, right? But it needs to have a reminder, right? A reminder for the follow-ups. And then you need to be able to kind of track the status of that lead, whether that's keeping notes about them, or are they a future follow-up? Are they a nurture? Are they a hot lead? Are they this is an offer, whatever it may be, different statuses. So that's important. So the CRM is probably the backbone of the technology side. And then it really, really helps. We've noticed over years of trial and error, if you can integrate, we do a bunch of calling and texting. If you can integrate that marketing platform with the CRM, that's where it becomes super efficient, right? So every time we call someone or every time we text someone, it's tracked in, when I click on their name, I go, oh, we've talked to them this many times. This is what we talked about. That's the important stuff.
And I would put a plug for that. So like, ashamedly, it's taken Seth and I too long to implement a CRM into our real estate agent business. We were like, oh yeah, no, we should do that. And then it's just like the discipline of exercising that is difficult.
It was like just sticky notes and phone numbers everywhere.
It was a mess. So we started using one for our real estate agent side of things. And I'll be honest with you, we're probably only using like 15 to 20% of what the CRM can do. And that 15 to 20% has made a massive difference. Because essentially, when you automate something, what are you doing when you're automating something? You are hiring an employee. That's what you're doing. You're hiring an employee that's going to do something consistently
that you don't have to do. And dang it, we should all do it. I don't care if you're not in real estate. Get a CRM, manage your kids. We should all get one. So
yeah,
that's
we
awesome.
Even use it so much. Like I was using it a ton on contact management, right? So you guys meet 1,000 people at each event, or just over the course, you'll hop on Zoom calls with people all the time. Like I've gotten my CRM down where when I send out Calendly links for people to schedule calls with me, right? They're auto-populated in my CRM as a contact. So then once we hang up that call, or during the call, if I'm in, if it's a Zoom call or whatever, I'm just typing notes right there. So then you go, I follow up with Seth and Garrett, 6 months later, I'm like, hey, this is what we talked about on the podcast. Like, this is what they're doing in Ohio. Like, it's such a beautiful, beautiful thing. And it's how you use technology to assist relationships. Like, we're never going to eliminate the people from this business. And if anything, people are the most important side of it.
That's good.
But you can use it as a very, very helpful tool.
So you have the CRM, you know what to do when you find the leads. How do you guys target your leads? I mean, what kind of lists are you buying? What kind of properties are you looking for? Why don't you explain a little bit of that?
Yeah, so it's going to vary depending on who you are as an investor, right? If you're going after single family or up to 4 unit properties, you actually have a lot of options of databases for lists of properties, whether you go to the local MLS, look up some expired listings, or List Source or PropStream or Reonomy. Like, there's 1,000 places. Once you start targeting larger assets, multifamily specifically is my experience, CoStar ends up being the primary data source because they're the ones that invest the most into actually building out their platform as data source, right? So they actually have people on their team. I'm not sure if you guys have gotten the calls, but as soon as you close a multifamily deal, you're getting a call from someone trying to verify the information of that deal, right? And then that goes in their database. So then anybody can export the data and they can potentially get a hold of you guys about buying your apartment complex, right? So that's how it goes down. So what we'll do is we'll pull a list from CoStar. We will also go and get that skip traced, which I don't want to dive too deep in the nitty gritty here, but pretty much we need to figure out what's the contact information for those owners. And you can do that with different platforms online. You can go on Fiverr.com, which is like, you can have some freelance, person with skip tracing services do it for you, right?
Right.
So we just need to know what their phone numbers are. And then that's when we plug that into the system. And that's where our, now it's like we have a bunch of leads with contact information. My VA starts, cold calling them and texting them. And then our lead managers get involved. And eventually we're getting as many offers out as possible.
How many offers do you guys think you put out, like a week or a month?
Yeah, so you'd be surprised. You'd think it'd be like 1,000, like a ton. But like when you start going after larger assets, they're harder to come by. So we actually have a very hands-on approach to, we don't do any bulk texting. We don't do any like blast emailing or anything, because we don't want to mess up just in case the data is not perfect, because we have less opportunities with these owners. So realistically, if we can get 4 or 5 legitimate offers out a month, like that's really good. And if you think about, like, in the top of the episode, you were talking about the market and a lot, 2023 was awful market for buying properties.
Yeah.
But since October to today, I've closed 3 multifamily deals. And that was because they were all been off market. A few of them one was through a property manager. One was direct to, through an off market pocket listing from a broker. One was direct to seller. Like there's different avenues of getting those off market. And that's the important thing is, if it's hitting the market, especially in today's, like right now, it's hard to get anything to pencil anywhere close. So if you can pivot and use technology to get some off markets, then you might actually be able to stay in the game.
I think the technology piece is something that it's kind of funny. We're now at a point where we have so many options that the struggle is you feel overwhelmed because you don't know where to start. Before, the issue was you didn't have access. Well, now everybody has access, but the problem is, where do I start and how do I actually find the right applications? So the excuse has been kind of taken away, and now you can find out how to leverage technology.
And really, I mean, what you're saying, anybody can do, but it takes the discipline and the follow-up, and you can't be afraid of talking to people. You can't be afraid of building relationships, because it's not like you have some secret sauce where you're like, if you say these 10 words, people are going to be like tripping over themselves to give you the property. It's just not the case. I think at the end of the day, everyone has to put in the time, has to put in the work. You guys probably call if you only do 4 offers a month, you're probably calling, 100 people a month or more? I mean, probably a lot more. I mean, it's probably disproportionate to what you think it would be. And it just takes time and doing the right thing long enough and to get a deal to fall. So
Exactly. Consistency is going to be what separates. Like if we're both in the same market, I'm going to, I don't want to, I ideally will be more consistent than you. And as a result, I'll get more.
Bet.
Right. You might get up. Yeah, no, it's on. Right. But in reality, that's why the technology helps. Is if it's telling you when to follow up and you got notes, like you're just going to be more consistent than everyone else.
Yeah. All right. We're going to jump into our smaller pockets segment. So, Justin, go ahead and tell us about a deal that went wrong. What happened? And then what did you learn from it?
So we talked about this quickly offline, and I was like, well, I have a very fresh one. So we did get this deal closed. So I will say there's a light at the end of the tunnel, but I legitimately did not sleep for like a month. Like actually not like I would wake up in the middle of the night. I like could not go to sleep. Every single waking moment was focused on so many issues with this property. So let me go through it real quick. I moved down to Florida last summer, and I'm like, all right, I want to start looking at Florida as a market. New market to me, everything's different. So we start kind of ramping things up, and we get to, I find an off-market deal. And I'm like, this could be the one, right? The issue was they decided that we had to work on their contracts, and their contracts didn't allow us any extensions just in case things went wrong. And that ultimately became the issue, right? So I'm a great investor in my markets. I have lenders, I have insurance brokers, I have all this team built up, but in a new market, I'm still learning just like everybody else, right? So I come in here, I have a new bank that I've never worked with before. It was a referral.
Everything takes longer.
Yep, it's taken longer, right? And it was actually, the holidays happened too. So there's a week where nothing got done, right? And I'm like, okay.
It's alarming how little banks or title companies will do over a holiday.
Nobody works. Like I love working during the holidays because that's like, if you think about it, that's where you get ahead, right? Grinding when everybody else isn't, but you can't expect that out of everybody else, right? A lot of people have worked so hard all year, and that's actually when they finally get their first vacation, right?
Yeah,
so they're going to take it. So that's the issue, right? So now we're coming up on closing, loans not even approved. And from that point on, it was like, I can't sleep because we have thousands and thousands of dollars on the line of non-refundable earnest money, right? So I do non-refundable because I have a ton of experience in closing deals. I never have an issue closing a deal. So I'm able to get a discount on the price by saying, after I'm done with my inspection, like I know we're going to close this.
Yeah.
That's great when you have a bank you've worked with in the past, but if you haven't worked with them, things start getting a little dicey. So I essentially was able to, we had to throw extra earnest money down. We had to I had like beg this owner to extend, and they had the full ability to
take your
just walk away with all my my earnest money, my extra earnest money I threw at them. I had already lined up the insurance premium. Like I had already paid all these things, and I was in the hole so much money on this deal. The bright side is, as soon as we finally got the extension signed, like I got to sleep for the first time in a month.
Wow. Lifted off
it
your
was
chest.
literal weight. But the funny thing is, in my normal contracts, I have, for this amount of money, non-refundable, I can extend up to 2 weeks, right? I can extend closing up to 2 weeks.
Which is really
that whole time
much
if
nothing.
I had
2 weeks is not a very long time. Yeah.
Not at all. No, but it was because of how that deal was structured. It was off market to a very easily flustered seller, right? The only reason we got, like, timing wise, let me take a step back. We got this under contract. My buddy had been off market talking to her for 2 years. 2 years.
Wow.
Then I moved down and I go, all right, let's do it. Like, let's get this thing. She's at a price that we can make this work. We drove to her house in the middle of boondocks and hand delivered at 9 p.m. at night an offer in her mailbox. The next day it's signed, right? So he goes 2 years of building a relationship, and in course of 24 hours, it's under contract.
How big was this property? How many units?
14 units
Wow.
in
Okay.
Florida, and man, I don't like to brag too much, but we're buying it at I think we bought it at 80 something a door or something like that, 70 something a door, and it appraised like day one at 100
Wow.
thousand.
Nice.
Right. So we
Wow.
essentially had 35% discount off
Yeah.
the rip, like right off
Yeah.
the bat.
Wow. And you put $500 in earnest money down, and so that's a lot of money to lose. You know what I mean?
I had so much. Yeah, it was very nerve-wracking deal. But what I learned is if you can use your own contracts,
Yeah.
and if not,
Yeah.
what I should have done is establish a better relationship with the bank, or what would have solved all this if I just did private money, right? Just for acquisition, and then maybe 6 months of renovations, and then converted that, refinanced into a long-term with the local community bank. That would have been fine. They could close way faster. But as soon as I kind of was like, I have just enough time here to get a local community bank involved.
In the back of your mind, were you starting to line up private money and try to see if you could close it that way?
Dude, I had so many things going on. Like there was a point where I was going to float the deal for 3 or 4 days. Someone was going to essentially give me $1 million to float it for 3 or 4 days.
Oh my gosh.
And we were going to pay some ridiculous amount of interest for 3 or 4 days just to wait for the loan approval to go through and the paperwork.
That probably felt
that
like an incredible amount of liability.
Insane. Yeah. And then think about like I'm lining this up without official loan approval yet. And I'm like, where the F is this loan approval, guys? Like this thing just appraised for 35% more than what we're purchasing. You guys should be throwing this money at us. Like what is going on here?
And banks are in no rush.
No,
they're in they're zero rush. And if there's a date on your contract, they don't care. They're like, we'll see if we can get it. We might need an extension. Hey, no, we can't do an extension. Well, I don't know. We'll see.
And we'll see what we can do. Yeah.
You know you have the right bank when they share that sense of urgency with you, because they are out there, but especially when they just don't function off the same timelines normally. So I don't remember you texting me for $1 million.
No, I should have, because I was
wrote it
freaking
too.
out. You could have made a lot of money off me. I was in like one of those desperate spots.
I would have asked you to hold off on cashing it, but
yeah, for sure. Yeah,
here's $1 million check. Don't cash it ever.
All right. That's a great story, man.
Okay, awesome. Well, I'm glad. I'm glad for your sake and just the stress. I'm glad you got it done. And so that's all closed up. Have you guys started the reposition on that?
Yep. So I'll be there tomorrow. I've been there multiple days. Like we actually converting all the units. We're looking to convert them to affordable housing, right?
Oh, okay.
So we actually have, of the 14 units as of today, we're recording this the 29th of February, 11 of the 14. So in 1 month, 11 of the 14 have moved out, and we're in the middle of renovation. So now it's a very stressful time.
Yeah, that's
like I got to sleep for a little bit, and now the sleep's gone again.
Yeah, big
That's awesome.
turnover.
Well, let's go into what we call our little nugget. So, Justin, this is the part of our show where you give our listeners a practical takeaway, a piece of advice that they can implement to their real estate investing businesses.
Yeah, I love this. Yeah, because you always want to walk away with something strong. So if you guys are interested in direct to seller, check out our website, nostressdts.com. But as far as like anybody who is interested in real estate, or they're at some point in real estate, the biggest nugget is to realize that this is a relationship based game. And that includes direct to seller, that includes direct to broker trying to get off market deals. And that also includes, once you have the deals, I've found the most important thing is strong relationships with other investors. Once you find those capital partners or lenders or other members of the team, even brokers, real estate agents, they're part of your team. Like direct to seller does not mean going around them, right? It's just a different tool in your toolbox. At the end of the day, if you can realize that this is a small, tight-knit community, you need to act with integrity Admit when something's not going wrong, tell people when something's not going wrong, and make sure that you're preserving relationships over money. You'll have a ton of success and you'll have a much better lifestyle as a result.
Yeah, that's a good word.
Shoot, I'm gonna start doing that. No, I always appreciate, we live and kind of function in an industry that really surrounds building wealth and, money, the market. And sometimes you need to remind yourself and other people around you that what is it for? What's your why? And to kind of get pulled out of the day-to-day and understand that if you're not adding value to the people around you and doing things in a way that you can put your head on a pillow at night, then it's probably not worth it. So,
yeah.
Exactly.
Hey, what's been one of the biggest resources that has helped you in your business development?
When I was brand new, it was Bigger Pockets, and then listening to podcasts like what you guys have here, just super impactful. Then it was going to local meetups, getting around the like-minded folks. And then now I think what I've scaled has to do with joining a mastermind network. Can be anyone. There's thousands of them out there. Yeah. But that's like, hey, I'm committing to being surrounded by investors who want to do deals. Yeah. And we're going to partner together. And when things don't go wrong, I'm calling up my mentors and being like, I need help. And it's invaluable what you get out of a mastermind network.
Awesome. And lastly, how can people find out more about your success?
Definitely follow Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Cashflow Cowboy. Check me out, Justin Wawrzyniak. And that's kind of my journey. I'm at 88 units now, guys, and I'm looking to get to 300 by 30. That's the goal. Nice. So everybody tune in.
You have 1 year.
I know. I have a little asterisk on it because technically if I'm still 30, I kind of have all the year of 30 too. But we're still going to try to get it before 30 if we can.
That's hilarious. That's good.
That's awesome.
Well, dude, it's been a pleasure to get to kind of hear your story. And thanks for sharing some of this stuff and how you've been able to take some of these principles, help other people do the same with their businesses. We're excited to follow your success here. And is there a YouTube channel that we can join to see if you can, if you're going to make it?
Everything kind of goes through Instagram and Facebook. I'm very active on posting there.
Nice.
Very cool. The Cashflow Cowboy. All right, man. Hey, thanks for jumping on today.
Garrett, Seth, thank you guys.
As always, excited that you joined us on another episode of the Reinvest Podcast. If this episode added to your tool belt or left you feeling inspired, go ahead and share it with a friend. Stay tuned every Tuesday for new episodes. And if you want to get in touch with us, go to our LinkedIn or Facebook profiles and shoot us a message. Move farther, reach higher, and grow deeper. See you next time.